Picture this: a federal courtroom, cameras rolling live on C-SPAN, millions watching from home. What started as a routine congressional hearing is about to explode into the most shocking political confrontation in decades. A young congresswoman stands face-to-face with one of America's most powerful federal judges. In her hands, a manila folder that's about to change everything. Judge Tanya Chutkan sits behind her bench like a fortress of authority. At 62, she's commanded federal courtrooms for over a decade. Born in Jamaica, appointed by Obama, she's built a reputation as fearless and uncompromising. Her graying hair is pulled back severely. Her dark eyes miss nothing. She's a judge handling high-profile Trump cases, and she doesn't tolerate disrespect in her courtroom. Across from her stands Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett from Texas. At just 42, she's one of the youngest and most fiery members of Congress. A former civil rights attorney who made her name fighting for justice in Dallas, she's wearing her signature purple blazer. The color, she says, represents both royalty and resistance. This woman has never backed down from a fight, and today won't be any different. The tension in the room is electric. This was supposed to be a routine oversight hearing about federal judicial procedures. But something has gone terribly wrong. The C-SPAN cameras are capturing every moment as legal experts shift uncomfortably in their seats, sensing that history is about to be made. It starts innocently enough. Congresswoman Crockett asks what seems like a standard question about case scheduling. Your Honor, the House Judiciary Committee has received complaints about delays in certain high-profile cases. Can you explain why some cases move through your docket faster than others? Judge Chutkan's eyebrows shoot up immediately. Everyone knows she's referring to the Trump cases, making headlines. The judge's voice is measured but clearly annoyed. Congresswoman, you need to be very careful about how you phrase questions in my courtroom. Case scheduling is based on legal priorities, not political timelines. But Crockett isn't backing down. As a former trial lawyer, she knows how to press an advantage. With all due respect, Your Honor, when cases involving former presidents seem to move at different speeds than cases involving ordinary citizens, that raises legitimate questions about equal justice under law. The temperature in the room rises 10 degrees. Legal experts exchange nervous glances. This is dangerous territory. A member of Congress essentially questioning a federal judge's impartiality in open court. Judge Chutkan leans forward, her knuckles whitening as she grips her bench. Congresswoman Crockett, you are dangerously close to crossing lines that should never be crossed. The independence of the federal judiciary is not subject to congressional micromanagement. But Jasmine Crockett has spent years facing down hostile judges and prosecutors. She's not intimidated. Your Honor, judicial independence doesn't mean judicial immunity from legitimate oversight. The Constitution gives Congress the power to investigate how our government operates, including our courts. The judge's face turns red. You can see her jaw muscles tensing. Miss Crockett, you are testing my patience in ways that I do not appreciate. This is not a campaign rally. This is a federal courtroom, and you will show proper respect. Instead of backing down, Crockett stands straighter and looks the judge directly in the eyes. Your Honor, I show respect to this court by doing my constitutional duty. The American people elected me to ask tough questions, even when those questions make people uncomfortable. The courtroom goes completely silent. Even the court reporters' fingers stop moving. Security guards look tense, unsure what's about to happen. Judge Chutkan's voice drops to a dangerous whisper. Congresswoman, you are now officially out of line. I am ordering you to sit down and reconsider your approach, or I will have you removed from my courtroom. But Jasmine Crockett doesn't sit down. Instead, she pulls out a thick manila folder from her briefcase and places it deliberately on the witness stand. The sound echoes through the silent courtroom like a gunshot. Your Honor, before you make any decisions about removing me, I think you should know that the House Judiciary Committee has been conducting its own investigation. And we've discovered some things that I believe this court and the American people need to hear. That's when Judge Chutkan loses her composure completely. She slams her gavel down so hard that people in the back rows jump. Her voice booms through the courtroom. Congresswoman Crockett, your behavior today has been absolutely disgraceful. You have turned this sacred space into a political circus. You are grandstanding, showboating, and making a mockery of these proceedings. The judge stands up behind her bench, her black robes flowing dramatically. I have spent my entire career serving the law and the Constitution. I will not sit here and allow you to turn my courtroom into your personal platform for political theater. Crockett stands there calmly, letting the judge's words wash over her. Her hands are steady, her breathing controlled, her eyes never leaving Judge Chutkan's face. This is a woman who's faced much worse than an angry judge. A security officer steps forward, unsure whether to intervene. Judge Chutkan notices and holds up her hand. "Officer, please stand down." Then she turns back to Crockett, her voice ice cold. "Congresswoman, you have exactly 30 seconds to explain why I shouldn't hold you in contempt of court and have you arrested right here, right now, in front of all these cameras." The C-SPAN cameras are still rolling. Millions are watching live. Social media is exploding. This is no longer just a courtroom confrontation. It's a national spectacle. Crockett looks around the courtroom, taking the tense faces, the rolling cameras, the security officer. She knows whatever she says next will define her entire political career. The silence stretches for what feels like hours. Then Crockett reaches for that manila folder again. When she speaks, her voice is calm, clear, and absolutely fearless. "Your Honor, I think you're going to want to see what's in this folder before you make any decisions about contempt charges." And that's when Judge Chutkan's face goes completely pale. The courtroom is so quiet you can hear heartbeats. Judge Chutkan's face has gone from red with anger to pale with what looks like concern, maybe even fear. "Your Honor," Crockett says, her voice carrying the calm confidence of a trial lawyer holding winning cards. "This folder contains communications that the House Judiciary Committee obtained through our Constitutional Oversight Authority. Communications that shed light on why certain cases in federal court seem to move faster than others." Judge Chutkan's voice is tight. "Congresswoman, if you're suggesting what I think you're suggesting, you are walking into territory that could destroy your career." But Crockett has made her decision. She opens a folder and pulls out printed emails. "Your Honor, these are communications between court administrators and Department of Justice officials regarding case scheduling priorities. Communications that show specific instructions about which cases should be expedited and which should be delayed. The legal experts are sitting on the edge of their seats. If what Crockett is suggesting is true, this could be the biggest judicial scandal in decades." Judge Chutkan's face is now completely pale. "Congresswoman, you need to be very, very careful about what you're implying." "I'm not implying anything, Your Honor. I'm stating facts." Crockett holds up the first document. This email, dated 6 months ago, shows court administration officials receiving pressure from DOJ officials to prioritize certain Trump-related cases over others, not based on legal merit, but based on political timing. The entire dynamic has shifted in seconds. Judge Chutkan, who moments before was threatening contempt, now sits down slowly, her hands visibly shaking. "Congresswoman," the judge says quietly, "if what you're saying is accurate, why didn't you bring this through proper channels?" Crockett's response is like a perfectly executed legal maneuver. "Your Honor, with all due respect, how could we bring concerns about judicial independence to the very system that might be compromised? We tried normal oversight procedures. We were ignored, stonewalled, and told to mind our own business." She pulls out another document. This second email shows direct communication between a DOJ official and court administration discussing how to manage the optics of case scheduling. "Your Honor, the American people deserve to know if our federal courts are being used as political tools." Judge Chutkan looks at the documents like they might explode. The authority she displayed minutes earlier is completely gone. "Congresswoman, these are very serious allegations." "Yes, they are," Crockett replies, "which is why I'm making them in federal court, under oath, on live television where the American people can see everything. I'm not hiding in committee rooms. I'm putting everything on the record right here, right now." Judge Chutkan sits back, clearly struggling. This is unprecedented territory. "Congresswoman Crockett, if these documents are authentic, they represent a serious threat to judicial independence. But you must understand that ambushing a federal court with unverified allegations is not proper procedure. Crockett is ready for that too. Your Honor, these documents have been verified by House investigators, authenticated by digital forensics experts, and corroborated by whistleblowers within the federal court system who came forward because they were concerned about what they were seeing. The courtroom erupts in whispers. Whistleblowers. This is getting bigger by the minute. Your Honor, Crockett continues, I didn't want to ambush anyone, but when the federal court system refuses to respond to legitimate oversight requests, when DOJ officials ignore congressional subpoenas, and when whistleblowers are afraid to come forward through normal channels, sometimes we have to bring the truth to light in the most public way possible. Judge Chutkan looks around the courtroom, clearly aware millions are watching. Congresswoman, you're putting me in an impossible position. If I dismiss these allegations, it looks like I'm covering up. If I take them seriously, it undermines confidence in the entire federal court system. Crockett's response is brilliant. Your Honor, with respect, you're not in an impossible position. You're in the exact position federal judges are supposed to be in, making decisions based on evidence and law, not politics or convenience. The question isn't whether addressing these allegations is comfortable. The question is whether they're true. She holds up the folder again. Your Honor, I have 17 different documents here. Email chains, meeting notes, recorded phone calls, all showing coordination between court administration and political officials to manipulate case schedules based on political considerations rather than legal merit. The judge is clearly struggling. Congresswoman, assuming these documents are authentic, what exactly are you asking this court to do? I'm asking this court to do what courts are supposed to do, Crockett replies. Look at the evidence, follow the facts, and ensure that justice is blind to politics, just like it says on that statue outside this building. The entire courtroom can feel the shift. Judge Chutkan, who started from absolute authority, is now clearly on defense. Crockett, who was threatened with arrest, now controls the narrative completely. Your Honor, Crockett says, her voice carrying moral authority, I took an oath when I became a member of Congress. I swore to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That includes defending it against political manipulation of our court system. She looks directly at the cameras. The American people are watching. They're seeing how their government really works. They're seeing what happens when someone tries to hold institutions accountable. And they're going to judge all of us based on how we handle this moment. Judge Chutkan clearly recognizes she's badly underestimated the young Congresswoman. Miss Crockett, you've certainly made your point, but you must understand the gravity of what you're alleging. I understand it perfectly, Your Honor, which is why I'm alleging it in federal court under oath with evidence, instead of just tweeting about it. I'm treating this with exactly the gravity it deserves. Crockett pulls out one final document. Your Honor, this last document is perhaps most important. It's a memo from a senior DOJ official to court administration. The subject line reads, Coordinating Case Schedules with Political Calendar. The date is from just 3 weeks ago. Judge Chutkan's face goes completely white. Congresswoman, you're alleging ongoing political interference in federal court scheduling. I'm not alleging it, Your Honor. I'm documenting it. And I'm asking this court to investigate it, just like any court would investigate evidence of potential misconduct. Crockett pauses for effect. Unless, of course, this court believes that political interference in judicial proceedings is acceptable. It's a masterful move. Crockett has put Judge Chutkan in a position where she must either investigate the allegations or appear complicit in covering them up on live television in front of millions of Americans. Judge Chutkan sits in silence for what feels like eternity. When she finally speaks, her voice is barely above a whisper. Congresswoman Crockett, this court will need time to review these materials and determine the appropriate course of action. Crockett nods respectfully. Of course, Your Honor. The House Judiciary Committee stands ready to cooperate fully with any investigation this court deems appropriate. We're not here to attack the federal judiciary. We're here to protect it. And with that, the young Congresswoman from Texas has turned what started as a judicial scolding into a potential constitutional crisis. She's done it with such skill that even opponents have to respect the performance. But she's not done. As Judge Chutkan sits processing what just happened, Crockett makes one final move that cements her victory. She looks directly at the C-SPAN cameras. "Your Honor, I want to make something clear to the American people watching at home. This isn't about attacking our courts. This is about protecting them. When politics infects our justice system, we all lose. Today, we took the first step toward fixing that problem." The judge can only nod weakly, knowing any other reaction would make her look worse on national television. Judge Chutkan leaves the bench quickly, her robes flowing behind her as she disappears into chambers. For the first time in her judicial career, she looks shaken. The woman who commanded courtrooms for over a decade has just been outmaneuvered by a 42-year-old congresswoman with a manila folder. Crockett calmly packs her materials, moving with the deliberate pace of someone who knows she's made history. As she walks toward the exit, reporters mob her. "Congresswoman Crockett, can you comment?" She simply smiles. "Everything I had to say, I said in there on the record, where it belongs." Within hours, the confrontation explodes across social media. Video clips are shared thousands of times per minute. The most viral moment is a 30-second clip showing Judge Chutkan's face going from red with anger to pale with shock as Crockett pulls out document after document. It's captioned, "When you try to bully someone but they brought receipts," and gets 2 million views in the first hour. Legal Twitter melts down. Constitutional law professors post long analysis threads. Former prosecutors debate whether the allegations could constitute criminal conduct. Progressive activists call it proof that young, diverse members of Congress are willing to challenge institutions their predecessors fear to touch. Within 24 hours, 3 investigations are announced. The House Judiciary Committee will hold emergency hearings. The Senate Judiciary Committee launches its own investigation. Most importantly, the Judicial Conference of the United States announces an internal investigation into potential administrative misconduct. If Crockett's documents show systematic political interference in court scheduling, it could lead to resignations, criminal charges, and complete overhaul of how federal courts operate. The Justice Department goes into crisis mode. Attorney General Merrick Garland faces calls from both parties to appoint a special counsel. Overnight, Jasmine Crockett transforms from a relatively unknown second-term congresswoman into a national political figure. Her office floods with interview requests. Progressive groups call her a hero. Even some conservative commentators praise her courage and preparation. But Crockett plays it smart. Instead of media blitz, she makes one carefully crafted statement. "Today, I did my job as a member of Congress. I asked tough questions, presented evidence, and demanded accountability. That's what the American people elected me to do, and that's what I'll keep doing." Her fundraising explodes. Small donations pour in from across the country. Progressive PACs start talking about her as a potential Senate candidate. There's even early speculation about a future presidential run. Constitutional law experts have a field day analyzing the separation of powers implications. Had Congress overstepped its oversight authority by confronting a federal judge in open court, or had the federal judiciary become too insulated from accountability? Harvard's Lawrence Tribe calls it a constitutional crisis in real time, arguing that while Crockett's tactics were unusual, her evidence of political interference was exactly what congressional oversight was designed to expose. Conservative legal scholar Stephen Calabrese disagrees, writing that congressional representatives have no business ambushing federal judges in their own courtrooms. This sets a dangerous precedent that could undermine judicial independence forever. But most experts agree on one thing. If Crockett's documents are authentic, they represent a serious threat to the independence and integrity of the federal court system. The confrontation becomes a defining moment for broader political trends. It shows the power of congressional oversight when wielded skillfully and fearlessly. It demonstrates how social media can amplify political narratives in real time, and it highlights ongoing tensions between branches of government in an era of extreme polarization. As America watches the aftermath unfold, one question remains. Had Jasmine Crockett saved judicial independence by exposing its corruption, or damaged it by attacking it so publicly? The answer depends on what the investigations reveal and how the American people ultimately judge her unprecedented confrontation. What's certain is that this day will be remembered as the moment a congresswoman from Texas walked into a federal courtroom with a manila folder and changed American politics forever. She showed that in American democracy, no institution is above accountability, not even federal courts. And sometimes the most effective way to seek that accountability isn't through backroom negotiations, but through the bright lights of public scrutiny and the power of documented evidence. The investigations will take months. The political ramifications will extend through the next election cycle and beyond. But Jasmine Crockett accomplished something remarkable. She walked into that courtroom as a relatively unknown congresswoman and walked out as a national figure who potentially exposed massive judicial corruption. She turned what was supposed to be routine oversight into a constitutional crisis. Most importantly, she proved that courage, preparation, and a manila folder full of evidence can challenge even the most powerful institutions in America. The day Congress came to court will be studied in law schools and political science classes for generations. It was a day democracy worked exactly as it was supposed to, messily, dramatically, and with the whole world watching.